Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Happy Moment. My name is Dan. I'm glad to have all of you with me today. Today, I do have a very special guest. She is the author of the Daughters of Chaos series. Please welcome author Mina Brower. Hey, Mina.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having me
Good.
on.
Well, thank you for coming on to join me today. Looking forward to talking to you. Um, so, Mina, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what first interested you in getting started in writing?
Yep. So I was born in Mexico. I immigrated here with my parents, following like the aspirations of the American dream. I got enrolled in ESL classes. I didn't really know any English except very basic things like door, dog, chicken. I got enrolled in ESL classes, went to school, eventually graduated up to law school. I did my law school, and I've been practicing law for a little bit. And I always loved writing. And I think me um, loving writing so much is what led me to pursue a career in law because, it's a lot of writing that we do. And writing fiction specifically allows me to have fun, allows me to have fun with writing, allows me to be a little more creative, little less of the rigidity that is needed for law. So that's a little bit how I got started. And fun fact, when I was younger in elementary school, I won my school's like writing competition, and it was like I got like a little trophy and everything. And I remember showing my parents, and my parents, they were immigrants. They were like working so hard, and they were like, "Okay, like that's nice. Let's focus on something that will make you money." And I just, yeah, it was. I thought I made it at that point. I was like, "Look at my trophy! I made it!" And they were like, "No, sit down, keep studying." And I think now they realize like, wow, she she's an author. So yeah, a little bit of a roundabout way to get here, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. An author and a lawyer, so that's that's pretty well rounded. Now, do you practice like a specific field of law, or is it a little bit of everything?
Uh, I do practice a specific field, and what I like to do on the side, also while practicing law, is I like to offer pro bono services for immigrants in order to look into their case and see if there's something that I can do to help their process along. So there is a little bit of a aspect there that I get to give back as well. And you asked me how I became interested in fantasy and just writing in general. I think just wanting to create problem solvers. And because it is a little bit of what I do, either with pro bono immigration services, or just being a lawyer in general. I get paid to solve problems, and writing fiction allows me to create these fictional scenarios where my characters can also be problem solvers and give back a little bit to their own community or their own
Okay,
side characters.
okay. So it sounds like it'd be safe to say that your law profession has had a fairly big influence on your writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, do you have are there any characters in your book that practice law in the fantasy world?
No, no, there is a goddess of war, which is super cool. I sort of imagine her, if you probably I don't know if you played Horizon uh, Zero Dawn.
I have not. I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
hmm So I sort of imagine like their outfits looking a little bit like that game. But her name is Yukara. She's the goddess of war, and she's like a problem solver. She is this very strong female character who's just quick to just jump in and solve problems. So I think she's not a lawyer, but she could definitely be a really good lawyer.
Okay. Did you base her off of you?
um, I guess in a way, authors give we put a little bit of ourselves in each character. But I guess in many ways, perhaps a little bit, yeah, of her, need to make the world around her a little bit better, with the
Okay.
resources that she has, and she has like a military, like an army. So yeah.
Okay. Well, Mina, let's dive into the Daughters of Chaos series. Your first book is A God of Moonlight and Stardust, and I believe you have another book on the way, An Air of Darkness and Ruin. Uh,
Yes.
does that have a release date yet?
June of 2025, June 30th of 2025. I'm trying to like make sure like June does not have a 31st. It's the 30th. Yes.
All right. Well, uh, we know this is a fantasy series. What else can you tell us about it?
So the series in general follows the story of Rena Strongborn, who is a daughter of a villainous god named Omre, and this is like a post-apocalyptic setting. So this is about 2,000 years after humans decided to evacuate and leave the Milky Way galaxy, and they all transported over to Andorra, a planet, one of the human planets on in the Andromeda galaxy. And Rena is a daughter of a villainous god, and it's a little bit of a sci-fi slash mythology pantheon mix, which was really cool to sort of imagine what like mythology would look like in a post-apocalyptic world. And in this particular universe, because of a lot of conflict that happened on Earth between religions and politics and magic and all of these things, these new humans on Andorra um, are prohibited from using magic and practicing religion. So technology is king. And Rena, she realizes that she has these supernatural powers, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous to have these powers in this very pro technology world that's very heavily monitored by a group called the Planetary Council, who oversees all like human relations. And very quickly, events start to spiral out of control, supernatural events on her campus, and she needs to make a choice whether to tap into the powers that she has and all of the trauma that comes with that because her father is not the best person. He is the villainous god. Or whether she can find a way to live a normal life and break free from, everything that is sort of her legacy. She just wants to be a normal person. So it's that very light versus dark pole between morality and doing the right thing and revenge and all of these things. And there's a lot of side characters that help her along the way, like gods, witches, the fae. There's this whole entire supernatural world that she's just like mind blown. And then Daughters of Chaos, plural. So there's going to be other daughters, especially in the second book that we'll get to meet, that have to also wrangle with these sort of powers that they have as well.
Okay.
So
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. Can
yeah.
you explain a little bit about the magic system and how that works?
Yes. So clearly, like for the human planets, magic is prohibited. But there are gods that exist that even if those humans are not allowed to believe in them, they're still there. And the magic system works in that Source, which is what I call like the ultimate creator force in my series. Source decided to create different supernatural beings when like when everything was created to oversee his creation. We have the gods who overlook human affairs. We have different types of other supernatural beings who are in charge of other things. And those gods, besides looking after human affairs, they also are um, instructed to look after different specific things. So we have three different god enclaves, the celestial gods who look over celestial bodies and things related to celestial bodies, like the moon, like the god of moonlight and stardust. That is a very specific deity who looks after the moon and the stars. You have the elemental enclave, and then you have the spiritual enclave that has to do with spirituality and all of these things. And everything exists to sort of provide balance and help this universe.
Okay. Now, is this like alien races too and stuff, or is it just humans?
Yes. So it is humans from the Milky Way galaxy, but also we have gods, fae, extraterrestrials that will be revealed later on in the series. It's very I love sci-fi, and this was such a fun way to also infuse a little bit of mythology, which is was my minor in university. So I did minored in classic Civ. So I looked at a lot of mythology, pantheons and all of this. It was super fun.
Oh, is this? Are you planning on making this a trilogy or more than that?
So right now, originally was planned as a one book. Then I realized that I had a lot to say, so panned out to three books. I really think this is going to be a four-book series with spin-offs already planned for some of the existing characters that people are like, I need to know more about this character, this side character. Like people really want to know more about Yukara because she is so cool. So I might do like a little novella. There are other characters like Nira, who's the goddess of the moon. People want to know about her story and her life. So might do a little novella there. But there is one main character that is getting a spinoff that I will be starting to write that this year. So
Okay. Now, um, what were some of your inspirations for this series?
I really love the way, particularly like Anakin from Star Wars, like his light versus dark journey of doing what's right and then being led by like this need for justice. I love that, and I love stories like that. A huge fan of like Stargate and all of these incredible stories that just travel across the universe, but particularly, I think just in general, the very human aspect of light versus dark that we find within ourselves. Um, each, when we make a choice, it's always like choice A or choice B. And then it's like you have to go through the morality, aspect, the ethics of these choices that you make. So I think that was those types of stories really just drive me to explore um, what each character could be potentially capable of.
Now, this is this young adult or just regular like grown up
Adult,
fantasy? Adult.
yeah, grown
Okay.
up fantasy, yeah.
Okay. Is there a lot of violence then?
I would say not violence is alluded to. I did have in one of the earlier drafts. I had a battle scene where you see like this temple being pillaged and these people being physically assaulted in all different types of ways. Um, but it's more adult because of the themes. There's flashbacks of childhood, psychological and physical abuse, and then there's also which is very triggering to some people, which is why it's adult. And then there's also spicy scenes, romance scenes between some of the characters. So
Okay.
definitely adult.
What would you say was your or is your favorite and least favorite part of the writing process?
I would say, and I think a lot of writers will agree with me, just writing. Like the free writing aspect of it is fun because you're creating. The least fun is when you have to go back and edit. So right now I'm editing with my editor the second book, and she gave me her comments back, and I'm like going through them back and forth, and like, should I do this? Should I do that? I think that's like so tedious, and I think all the writers will agree with that one.
Yeah. I like to write a little bit too. Never published anything, but is editing's not really fun. I don't know about you, but like I always have that temptation to go back as I'm writing and like, oh, let me fix this real quick. And
Yes,
instead,
yes.
but you just got to power through it, don't you?
I actually I had the opportunity to buy a free write, the free write traveler, like the company
Okay.
free write that yeah, so I bought the traveler. And it because I was at that point where I had all of these ideas, and I had, I think at that point, written about like 11,000 words or something like that, and I wasn't really able to concentrate. So I had the opportunity, and I bought it, and it just helped me just write, not like look back, not edit it until like I was done, and it helped me a lot. So maybe some try to find a way that's distraction free, which I know it's very difficult to do sometimes, but yeah.
Oh, uh, so your main character, Rena, is this kind of like similar to I guess like a Lord of the Rings where you have like this group of characters meeting up and going on this grand adventure, or is it not quite like that?
I would say probably the third book is like that, because I'm writing the third book right now. Um, I would say the first book, they do go to a sanctuary. So Rena does leave to go to a sanctuary, which is, I'm not giving any spoilers away because it's literally in the back of the book. But yeah, so the second book, some people go on an adventure, but I think the third book, it's really of like, okay, guys, what are we doing? How are we solving this major issue that's like right here? So
Mhm. Okay. Now, as you alluded to, Daughters of Chaos, there's more than one daughter. Is Are these other daughters? Do they not see eye to eye with Rena, or is that
they
would that be spoiling things?
well, they weren't raised with her.
Okay.
So they weren't raised with her, and for all intents and purposes, everyone thought that Rena was dead. So it's like, oh my god, and it's interesting because I talked to one of my friends, who didn't know that she had a basically a half sibling until she was an adult. Like she's married, she has a child, and I said to her, "Can I just pick your brain a little bit about what it's like meeting a half sibling when you're an adult? Because it's like that's so, I could imagine for many people that could be very difficult." So I definitely tapped into like some like real life scenarios of like what does that look like? What emotions did that look like? Because they had no idea that she was alive. So yeah.
Okay. Are you the only writer in your family?
No, my grandfather, he became a writer later in life, and he loved science fiction, fantasy, and I grew up with him telling me all these stories, which is why I think I gravitated immediately to the genre. So I definitely owe a lot of my confidence to even write to him. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was just about to ask you too. What was it that drew you to the fantasy genre specifically?
Oh
Um,
yeah. I
so that
mean, like he would say stories about, he would talk to me about extraterrestrials and astral traveling, which, like 30 something years ago, no one was talking about astral traveling, and all these like really esoteric topics, like metaphysical topics. So it's just fascinating now that it's more people are talking about these like really cool concepts. And then I get to write about them because I do have astral traveling in my book.
okay.
So
Now,
yeah.
uh, like the like aliens and stuff, is that something that interests you outside of writing?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, I have a fun story about that.
Ooh.
In Mexico, there's this like really famous UFO investigator. His name is Jaime Maussan, and he has for probably like 40 plus 50 years, no, probably like 40 years, he's had this like show where he just reports on like UFO findings, and like that's his whole thing. He's a journalist, he's an investigative reporter, and my grandfather obviously was a huge fan. And I went to Mexico recently, probably like 2 years ago, and I had this wild opportunity to go inside of that studio where they filmed the show. And for some reason, I was able to talk to the producers and like the directors who were like filming a live show. And I was like, is Jaime Maussan here? Like, I'm a huge fan. Can I talk to him? And they let me go up to his office, and I I was like, it was like it's literally one of like my most favorite like life experiences. Um, so yeah, and it's just fascinating to just imagine life outside of this Earth bubble that we're in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And along a similar topic, I was also reading that you enjoyed watching ghost shows.
Oh yeah,
Is that
yeah.
something that you're a believer in too? Is the supernatural world? I guess.
Oh, 100%. My
Okay,
house is
yeah,
haunted. 100%. 100%.
okay.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know who it's haunted by?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But I
Oh,
mean, that's what happens when you have like homes that are like over 100 years old. Like, it's just, yeah.
yeah. It's. I think it's all that stuff is pretty fascinating. Um, never had any experiences myself, but I think it's definitely interesting. Were you able to work like any ghosts into your books?
There is a ghost army, like a spirit army. So Yukara, I keep referencing her. Yukara, she has a ghost army, which we sort of see a little bit in the first book. We see like a glimmer in the desert of her ghost army, which will come into play at some point in the
Okay.
series.
Hmm.
But yeah, ghosts specifically. Mm, no, not in the way of like that you and I would like be like, oh,
Right.
that's
Okay.
ghost hunting show. Yeah.
All right. So Mina, you got Yukara, Rena. Who would you say is your absolute favorite character in the series, or at least in the first book?
I would probably have to do two. So my favorite would be Rena, obviously. She's just like such a badass, strong character. And I think my second favorite would be Sethos, who is this mysterious Fey dude that has these unexplainable powers, and he visits Rena in her dreams. And his like life experiences are just that we learn about in the second book more are so just interesting, and I really got to explore like the whole like light versus dark, love versus revenge with him. And it's just opened my eyes to like all of the different ways that we can like as authors express like the human experience, through what characters go through in terms of trauma and childhood trauma and like all their motivations. And it's just, yeah, he's a cool dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, I definitely want to check this out. It sounds very interesting, and I also enjoy reading about badass female main characters.
Yes.
So uh, yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Were there any? You mentioned some movies that you drew inspiration from. Were there any books?
Someone asked me this the other day, and I'm so bad because typically for writers, we're always told like read in your genre if you want to be a better writer. Read in your genre, read in your genre. I would say that I don't read in my genre because I want I want my ideas to be like my ideas. You know what I mean? And yes, I do take like everyone takes like inspiration from certain themes of certain movies or like poems or whatever. But I read Regency, romance Regency, and when I'm not reading my own stuff that I'm editing. But so no, I mean maybe like some of the steamy tension, love tension that we can find in Regency books. But this series has like a dash of romance. It's not like the main plot. So it's just like where romance develops naturally in a relationship, you will find it there. But it's definitely, fantasy, sci-fi with romance.
Okay. What kind of advice might you have for an aspiring writer?
Um, I would say call yourself a writer, call yourself an author, because what you call yourself and what you believe you are, you will be. And I know it's a very like metaphysical way to think about yourself, but I think words are so important and so powerful. if you're, and sometimes I see people on, you know, for example, social media, and they have their bios and it says like aspiring writer or aspiring author. Just call yourself an author. Call yourself a writer. The shoe fits if you know it's like the saying that says like if the shoe fits. Um, you are a writer. You are an author, and you are a creator. And I think it's so important that we believe that we can be capable of developing these ideas. And I also want to remind anyone that is attempting to write or anything that we are natural storytellers. That is how the human species has survived and thrived through storytelling. We're all natural storytellers. And when we remember that every single person is a storyteller in their own right, and that this is like a legacy that we have as humans, I think we can gain a little more confidence that every single story matters and that no one can tell your story because it's your particular voice and it's your particular experiences. So that's what I would tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very good advice. And is there anything that um, you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of writing this book?
Um, that you need multiple drafts to get to a good product. Yeah. You need multiple drafts. And I would say find a really good editor. Find an editor that is not a yes man, because in the beginning when I was like trying to see like what editor would work the best, the way I would mesh with, um, I very quickly realized that I should have done a lot of reading of what those editors worked on, to see if I even liked their work. So if I would tell myself to like, instead of wasting my time trying to just contact people, just look at what work they've done, read those books, and if you like that style, then continue conversations and like don't waste your time and their time, because time is money. I was very fortunate to speak to a lot of wonderful people who have done incredible work, that I respect a lot, and uh, to find my particular editor has been just amazing. So yeah.
So you have one book published, and the second one's coming up later this year. So as someone who's kind of just getting started in the business, how do you feel about AI? Like, is that a big concern of yours? Like how fast AI is rising and how a lot of people are using AI to write books now?
Yeah, I think for any industry, when you start, um, there's this quote that I read, and I feel terrible because I don't know the author, but um, and it's a quote that's going around social media that says, "I want AI to assist me. I don't want it to do my job for me. Like I don't." I want it to like assistive AI, like if you're writing an email and it says, "Do you want to change this word to like maybe this word?" Like that's nice, but I want to be able to create. And like I said, like being a writer, being a storyteller is our human right. It's our legacy as part of this species, and for a machine to take that away is just awful. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary how fast AI is becoming more and more prominent. Um, So have to keep a close eye on that in the future. And like you said, it's nice to have AI assist you, but to actually like do the work, it's like, it's it's not good.
Yeah, no,
um,
it's definitely not. Especially for artists as well. Like I know a lot of
yeah,
character artists who are struggling with that as well. It's very sad.
you had your book with you. Could you hold that up again for us?
Yeah.
Just want to take a
Ta-da!
look at the cover there.
Oops. There we
Now,
go.
by chance, did you do your own cover art?
So I have a hidden talent and I paint. So I like to, I did not do this. My cover artist, Hampton Lemereau, did this. And what I like to do is I like to sketch my covers and to show him, like, this is where I want everything to be, that I want this snake here. I want these, like, I like have this vision in my mind and I put it to paper and it looks awful. And then I just give it to Hampton, and then Hampton is like, okay, let me just transform this into something that we can publish. Um, But yeah, I'm very involved in the process, and
Okay, it looks very
we're just
nice.
finishing up the second cover. So yeah,
Okay, so you haven't done a cover reveal yet for book two?
not yet, not yet. I
Oh,
think maybe next week or in 2 weeks, or I don't know. I
oh,
have to
okay.
talk to my social media PA
Okay.
to figure out when is like the right time to do it.
Okay. Well, on that note, if people want to look up your books, they can go to www.minabrowerbooks.com.
Yes.
Where else can people find you on social media?
So definitely Instagram. I'm like more active on there. So Mina Brower author. That's the handle, Mina Brower author. I have Substack because everyone ran to get a Substack, so I have that, and I do like a little bit of like book updates there. I'm on Blue Sky as well, and I have all of those links on my Instagram. So if you go on my Instagram and go to like the bio, all of those other social media icons are there. I'm on X, yeah, Facebook, but mostly active on Instagram because
Okay.
the bandwidth that is needed to manage everything is insane. Like no human can do everything.
Mina, what is I guess the biggest takeaway you want people to have when they read your books?
um, this is going to sound really cheesy, but I think to believe that you're capable of creating your own legacy and not being burdened to follow the legacy of your parents.
Okay.
So, Omri, which is like the villainous god, like the dad to all these daughters, is very abusive, and it's the struggle of I don't want to be like my father, which I think is such a universal feeling for many people. You know, it doesn't matter what parental figure you're referring to, but I think realizing that like you have the power to choose differently, you have the power to like make choices, conscious choices that don't lead you down the same path as a parent that you probably don't like.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Once again, website minabrowerbooks.com. Daughters of Chaos series, book one, A God of Moonlight and Stardust, is out now. Book two, An Air of Darkness and Rune, coming out in, you said June 30th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll look forward to that. And Mina Brower, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right. It's been great talking to you. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. If you'd like to learn more about my podcast, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Just look for a Happy Moment Podcast. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.